It's Monday. That means it's setup Monday here. B and C. Let's take a look at some interesting chart price action we got going on. ETH just on another level out of the stratosphere. Successive all-time highs, hour by hour here. One big target I'm watching at the moment, and we'll continue to watch over the next 2 months, is this moving average multiplier. This is the 365 MA in the green, 5 times that in the red. And historically, close to the top has been this multiplier. This will continue to move up day after day. So the exact price level just needs to be monitored day in, day out. But this is definitely an indicator that historically, on virtually everything that I'm looking at backtesting wise, has done a pretty good job, even on BTC, has done a pretty good job of predicting highs, predicting lows. The longer ETH can chill out, the better, because that gives the yearly MA time to catch up. But if this goes to 42 tomorrow, then it's closer to the end than it would be otherwise if it just slowed down. FOMO just isn't sustainable. Euphoria isn't sustainable. It definitely looks like there is a large party entering the market. We don't know yet. I don't know the news yet. It just looks like it based on the volume, based on the continuous uptick in buying. If you are like me looking on the 4 hour wondering where can I get back in if I'm underweight ETH, I certainly haven't been trading this on leverage, which obviously was a mistake in hindsight, but it's more of a question of, do I rotate anything into ETH at this point? Does anybody not think ETH is going to infinity? You know, how crowded is this trade? I think that's what's running through a lot of people's minds. Now you can look at funding and see if it's flat, if it's negative. If it's negative, shorts are still paying longs. Historically, once funding is ballooning, then that is the top, because at that point, the longs are paying so much to be long that eventually just overcomes the price action up. So the 4 hour cloud looks fine for continuation. We don't have a TKC clamp here. The TK separation looks okay. If I was looking to get back in on a doom wick, it would be 2700. And something else you can look for throughout the week is a bearish divergence on the 4 hour, especially. It'll help get you out early. So like here, you know, it was a continuous bear div, then you got another high, and then it was the end, but it gave you an early warning, canary in the coal mine, as they may say, that this high is not sustainable and you can draw these back however far you want to draw them back. But really, that's what I would be looking for throughout the week, is a bear div on the 4 hour, because the daily looks fine. I mean, we just retested the Kijun not too long ago. We retested the Tenkin. This is just ready for liftoff at this point. No bear div on the daily yet. So plenty of room, regardless of price, regardless of what's going on. You know, it's just kind of is what it is. This is what price discovery should be, what everybody wants it to be. It'll be written in the annals of history. This is what price discovery felt like for ETH, as it did for BTC in 2017. And speaking of BTC, ETH-BTC just absolutely crushing BTC on this move. It hit a multi-year horizontal. It hit the pitchfork median line and said, I want more, I want more. I think anything back to the neckline or throwback would be a gift at around 04, 05, somewhere in there is a good buy zone, I think. I think at this point, people are wanting 01. Well, some people are also rotating out of ETH and into other stuff. It's just a continual rotation between ETH and DeFi and other alts, and maybe a bit early for the ETH rotation, but those people will likely be rewarded, as some of the ETH-BTC people are stuck at the top. That's just kind of how it is. But if we're just measuring, if we're treating this as a chart pattern and we measure it out, we get an 054 to 064 range as far as resistance. There's a yearly pivot, R3 there. So technicals suggest it's potentially oversold at that level based on measured move. So I don't know, the way ETH looks now, this looks like it could go to 0.5 at this point, because BTC just hasn't done anything. But that's when it gets the most dangerous and the most slippery at the top, when everybody says, oh, this is a slam dunk, this is easy, you know, it gets super crowded. And the smart people the whole time are selling on the way up, little by little by little. They don't get trapped. And when the dominoes fall, they're the ones who already found a chair, despite the music still playing, right? They're not worried about price falling back. They're ready to buy the panic sells. So anyway, just be careful on all these alt rotation trades. Like Waves is up 40% today. I mean, is that sustainable? No. Switching gears to BTC, same thing. As far as the MA multiplier, this time it's the 2-year MA multiplier. It is really done well at the bottoms, done well at the tops. Historically, we've had 3 to 4 weeks of the top. Currently, the top is at 84K. So if BTC hits 84K and ETH hits 4,200, that's roughly a 0.05 equivalent as far as ETH-BTC. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. If you are fundamentally on board with BTC hitting its MA multiplier, then you're sort of an ETH-BTC buyer at 05, you're an ETH USD seller at 42, and you're rotating maybe into BTC and waiting for that 84 plus touch. One thing to note about this versus ETH is ETH hasn't had, I mean, this is an N of 3, so I'm really reading into this, but ETH hasn't had extended time above its moving average multiplier. Maybe this is the year, right? Maybe this is the year, goes to 10K. I don't see 10K. I think that's a bit much, but ETH 20x or BTC 20x in 2017, right? So a 20x for ETH maybe isn't so crazy. I don't know. It's just hard to imagine what the market would look like with ETH at 10K, for instance. Anyway, I like 84 plus for BTC. This week I would watch the 4-hour cloud. I would watch for these 4-hour cloud signals to all flip bullish. Currently you're halfway there, prices above the cloud. TK signals are, TK cross is bullish. You're just waiting for the cloud to flip bullish. And your target on this is basically an all-time high retest on the pattern, the inverted head and shoulders, which worked out pretty well. And you're waiting for the cloud to give you permission to add to your long or reopen a long. And that's what I'm looking at specifically, is just this 4-hour cloud on lower time frames. And one other thing to watch for is this TK cross, which threatened a bear cross. And much like the MAs, if this threatens a cross and doesn't happen, it's kind of implies a slingshot in the continuation direction. So this tried to break down, didn't. Maybe it's just myhopium, but I like 80 as far as the next move up based on yearly pivots, based on MA multiplier. You know, at 80, there's still room for more up, which is the crazy part. It's because BTC has lagged substantially and it's given the multiplier time to catch up. And this is an even slower multiplier. It's the 2-year multiplier. So I'm still convinced that we have a ways to go yet on BTC. It looks good for continuation on trend, on cloud as well, on the daily. If this does break down, what you're watching for is an edge-to-edge trade with a bearish TK cross. So you want to trade this as a short. I'll be trading this as a short, not investment advice. I'll be trading this as a short once we get this bearish TK cross with price inside of the cloud. Here we had price inside of the cloud, but we did not have the bearish TK cross. If you backtest this stuff, you'll notice that these edge-to-edge trades are more congruent, or are more, have a higher probability when the TK cross is congruent with the move. So we're not there yet on the bear side. And on the pitchfork as well, since 2019, I like 80, 90, 110. You know, I don't think we have a bullish Q3. I really don't. So maybe this is a 100K by July type thing. We have 60 days to kind of do something. And if we don't, then Q3 kind of lags behind everything. There's a song by Green Day, Wake Me Up When September Ends, and it very much applies to BTC. It's kind of sell in July and walk away and rebuy at the beginning of Q4 historically, because September and Q3 have just been awful for BTC based on seasonality. Some more things to watch for throughout this week. GBTC announced that they are repurchasing, buying back 750 million GBTC shares. The discount is still currently 10%. This is probably pulling up throughout the day, but I would watch to see if this flips to a premium, which it may never ever do again. But if it does, what happens to spot BTC? Does spot BTC flip bullish once again on lower time frames? You know, we've sort of languished and done a bunch of nothing, just lethargic. Something else to watch for is hash rate. You know, last week and the week before, I was kind of looking, why are we bearish? Why haven't we broken out of a perfectly formed ascending triangle with all the trappings of price discovery. The two things that I could think of were GBTC discount and mining difficulty dropped big time. And historically, I can't really explain it too well, but how this works again on backtesting, if you just look at the correlations, if difficulty drops substantially, price is usually bearish or sideways. It doesn't usually go in the opposite direction. It's usually highly correlated. So despite the negative 12% adjustment, we are still predicting another 6% drop in the next 10 days. So if this can flip bullish, if more hash rate gets pointed at the network, then I think that'll be bullish for price as well. I'm looking at a few other things. Doge, 4 hour, exactly what you want to see. This is what you want to see on BTC, right? All this stuff is bullish. Cloud is bullish. It's Doge, right? But if you're just trading this as a trend continuation, you were long back here because all of the signals were bullish, and you're just holding, right? And maybe you fib out this high, this low, and it gives you a target of 52 cents or something. I don't know, but this looks good for continuation. LTC BTC looks more and more ready by the day. Its potential for mean reversion looks like a given to me. I'm not bullish on the fundamentals of LTC. I think it's a zombie coin. But the falling wedge looks like it's starting to break up, and this could potentially form at this point in inverted head and shoulders as well. So this could go, to the end of Q4 as far as when it actually does anything. But we're checking more and more boxes for mean reversion on this stuff, especially seeing ultimate zombie coins like Waves just do what it's doing very quickly. I mean, this is how these rotation plays work. When BTC is sideways, you get these massive spikes extremely quickly on these altcoin pairs because there's just less liquidity typically, and people are like, okay, what hasn't moved yet? Let's rotate 1 million or 25 BTC, whatever it is, into some alt, sell it when it moves X%, right? At that point, it becomes the easier trade because BTC isn't doing anything. So that's all I really have for this one. If you want to see me trade ETH-BTC versus USD, you can pop on over to Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management tool. You can see AUM, you can see all the trades I make, you can see the allocations, and there's no mins, no max. You can withdraw. There are fees. It's the usual 2 and 20 as far as management fees. And gas has been pretty good as far as getting in and out. Gas has been down for anybody depositing anything, for instance. As far as my end, the fund itself pays all of the gas fees, which is partly why there's actually management fees, because it costs a lot of money to trade, especially the managed DeFi portfolio. Same thing as the ETH-BTC portfolio, non-custodial. Everything's in a smart contract. And again, you can see performance, AUM, allocation. This is a smattering of DeFi stuff. So like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know how bullish you are on ETH. Is it the end? Is it the top? Is everyone too euphoric? And happy trading.